It's Monday, and that means it's time for a new episode of Interviewing People, the careercast where you can learn about a variety of careers from people actually doing the work. Today I'll be talking with Evan Haffenden, who once walked these halls but is now a commodity manager for Accuride Corporation. Evan will be sharing about his education, what led him to go into supply chain management, and much more. So enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of the Interviewing People Careercast. And this week we have 2006 Van Buren graduate Evan Haffenden with us. He is a commodity manager with Accuride Corporation, and he's going to be talking a little bit about his career and what he does. And we know that supply chain has been huge over the last 6 months here in the U.S., and that's where he's working. So we're going to get to learn a little bit more about that and what that might mean for us and for any of you students who are thinking about going into that career field. So Evan, thank you very much for agreeing to talk to me today and share some ideas about your career experience. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit about where you were in high school. Was supply chain something that was on your radar at all? What were you planning to do after high school? How did all of that come about?
Supply chain was not on my radar at all. I had no clue what it was. It really, it just didn't make any sense to me when I actually went to college and I went to Bowling Green State University, and they were heavily recruiting for the supply chain program. So they were giving out shirts and brochures and things on that. So I said, hey, might as well give it a try. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wanted to go into business, and I didn't really know much else beyond that. So, looked into it a little bit more, got into a few of the classes, and it's something that really spoke to me about, I don't even know what it was that spoke to me. It just all kind of clicked together there. I took multiple classes. They do a really good job of spreading it out for your business administration degree, giving you finance course and accounting and supply chain, those type things. And supply chain was the one that really clicked, got good grades there, and said, something about this is just right.
So when we talk about supply chain, can you give us a little more background as far as what all that entails?
Supply chain is a really broad subject. So, you've got anything from logistics and warehousing, getting your trucks to and from the right place at the right time with the right product. What I've spent most of my time doing is purchasing. I did that for probably 7 years. Now I'm a commodity manager. So another maybe 3 or 4 years of kind of advanced purchasing there. And so placing orders, negotiating with suppliers and just getting, the right stuff at the right time. That's the big thing about supply chain, is everything has to be right, and it'll all line up well. Right. Supply chain also consists of supplier quality. That's kind of a forgotten field within the supply chain realm. So you got to make sure that, your suppliers are doing what they say that they're going to do, and you're picking the right suppliers and then fixing any problems that they might have. So those are 3 of the bigger facets.
So you work for Accuride, and they are dealing with transportation, trucking, railroads, et cetera. Tell us a little bit about what they do beyond that. And then, as a commodity manager, what does a typical day look like for you?
So Accuride is a leading producer of wheels and wheel ends, so brake drums, rotors, hubs for heavy duty trucks. We are kind of an offshoot of automotive. We follow the same standards, but we aren't, part of the big 3 like GM, Ford, Chrysler. But we have our own, I guess, ways of doing things, but alongside ththose IATF 16949 certifications, which is your automotive quality certificate. So typical day in a commodity manager's life. I mean, I'm especially right now, it's kind of crazy times as everybody's aware of, just navigating different commodity markets. So my big ones currently are aluminum and steel. We need those to make our wheels for the trucks. You've probably seen a lot of our product on the road, and just never realized that was an Accuride product. Most of that's, made here in the U.S. So we do have a lot of, we do have a lot of safeties there, but again, in terms of commodity management, my predecessors and myself have done a really good job of trying to mitigate risk by having multiple sources for that aluminum and steel, geographically trying to be diverse, not just setting up as close as we can to our plant, but sometimes for cost diversity, we go overseas. Sometimes, we've got a lot of safeties here in the U.S. Because we are a U.S. manufacturer. So that, and then analyzing the market, figuring out where you can get your best cost, best delivery, best quality. So it's just a lot of data analytics, a lot of relationship building with your suppliers. I was just down in Mexico last week for a little bit, launching a new program. Our supplier quality manager has really done a good job of developing, and I was there for kind of end game support, a little commercial side of things. But so it's a lot of moving and shaking, and especially right now with the markets being as they are.
Right. Do you have to travel a lot for this career, or is that more of a just hit and miss occasionally?
So personally, I've done a lot of travel. I've been on the road anywhere between 50 and 75% of the time the last 5 years, excluding the last two, of course, with the global shutdown. But as a commodity manager, my role kind of gets blended. We're about a mid-sized company, I'd say. I think we're $1.2 billion. So we get a lot of the perks of being a smaller company, but not a lot of the perks of being a larger company, like having a lot of people. So it's pretty dynamic where I sit. I cover a couple grounds. So, I mean, yeah, I guess the short answer is yes. If you're a commodity manager, you don't necessarily have to travel, but some will.
Right, right. That's interesting. So you talked a little bit about relationships and building those with the suppliers and so forth. Can you talk a little bit about the role those relationships play with those suppliers? What do you do to build those relationships, or what are they trying to do to build a relationship with you? Because obviously you're benefiting them as well. And then maybe talk a little bit about in your, getting your current job and other positions that you've had, or maybe even in college, maybe there was a relationship that really helped you. How have relationships helped lead you to where you are today?
Well, there was a couple of people in college that really helped me, get my head on straight. I mean, I went in first semester. I actually did really good my first semester, and I think I got a little bit too comfortable in that type lifestyle. And then I really took some courses that I didn't quite understand, and I'll be honest, I got C's and D's in them, and that was atypical of my grades from high school, and I didn't really know how to fix that. So there were a couple of people that really helped me out and kind of fostered that, and I had long-term relationships. I mean, Van Buren's a great place for developing those. I got friends that I still talk to today. And going to college, you're only there for 4 or 5 years maybe, so it's a lot quicker pace to get to know people and who to know, and who's best for your future. And luckily I found a couple there. So I kind of took that to the next step, and when I started my career, and I relied heavily on people. I mean, the old saying, it's not what you know, it's who you know. I went in and said, hey, I don't know anything. You guys, teach me what you know. And so, there's a couple of suppliers that I really know and I really trust. And, again, to this day, I don't know how long it's been, 11, 12 years later. Those are the guys that I still call on, almost a weekly basis to try to help me out. Things that, they've done for me, obviously, they come to the table. A lot of what we did 10 or 12 years ago when I was a buyer was cost savings. And, whether that's going through price negotiation or figuring out how to reduce the amount of inventory on hand or things like that. We got to survive as a mid-tier company. We're fighting off a lot of overseas companies, and, they have a lot less labor costs than we do. So we really held our own in the marketplace. And again, today we're still a leader because of some of those efforts. So, those suppliers were really critical in coming forward with me and making those things happen. Even today, we're again, we're kind of balancing out the global pandemic, the current conflict in Russia and the Ukraine. Those things are absolutely killing industry right now, and we're still doing well because we've got suppliers that I can rely on, and they've got the right material on hand, and they're taking care of their business, and then they help me take care of ours.
Very good. So you've been at Accuride for, if not all of your career, a majority of your professional career. And, we've talked in class that, the average person is going to have, 8 to 12 jobs over the course of their career. And you've had a few different jobs with Accuride. Have you found that it's unique that you've stayed with Accuride as long as you have, other people that you've talked that in supply chain? Do they move around to other companies more, or is this a field where people do typically stay with a company?
Um, I think the same amount of people will come and go in supply chain than in any other field. I think that again, it's pretty dynamic. Um, Supply chain, you can either be sitting at your desk looking at data all day long. You can be out in the field 100% of the time doing anything. So it's really up to the person, what they find and what they like. And it's very broad.
Mhm.
So, when we say supply chain, you're not just looking at numbers. You're not just talking to people all the time. You're kind of doing a mix of everything. I've been with Accuride. They've given me the opportunity to continue my career and advance. And, it's been chaotic. It's been a lot of fun for me though. And again, this fits my personality. So I think, I don't know, I just lucked into, kind of the roles that I'm in and the people that I've served under and with. And, that's really helped here. But, to your point, I've also seen a lot of people come and go. So, the team that I work with in Rockford, there's only one person left from 2012, and then there's only one person left from 2015. Otherwise, it's a whole new team up there. So, at least in the supply chain field. And
Right.
so the corporate team has, mostly been around now that I'm a corporate person, instead of a plant personnel. But, there's again probably half the team from 2010 or 2012 is still here, and the other half has flipped positions a couple of times. So,
Right. Well, yeah, I think there's a lot to be said for a company that does take care of its employees, does promote those that are working hard and so forth. So I think that's really good. So if a student was interested in going into supply chain, what are some characteristics you think it might be good for someone going into this field to have?
um, you've really got to be data driven. The data really drives everything, and so you got to know how to how to not only pull data, but you've got to know how to read the data too. And when I say data, that's a very broad term. Anything from spend to how quick you're getting your product, what your on-time delivery is, how much quality, how many quality issues that you might have, versus what's acceptable, those type things. Just kind of at a baseline. And then, kind of the other one going the opposite way. Again, you've got to be able to have relationships. So, depending on which aspect of supply chain you're really interested in, if you can't build relationships, if you can't deal with people, it could be a rough time. It's it's very polarized, in my opinion. Anyway, those would be two. And then just being resourceful, that's critical. Agile. Again, things are not going to go right. Every time I get something set up, something else goes wrong. So, it's just a matter of balancing and not fighting fires every day, and just making sure that you can problem solve and execute, and just be agile in what you're doing to get to the end goal.
Right, right. So if someone was interested in going into this career field, are there any organizations or any people that maybe they should start following on social media, be it LinkedIn, or is this more of just there's not really a group or a couple groups that you follow? It's just there are people out there in supply chain.
No, there's a couple of professional groups out there. The Institute for Supply Management and APICS are the two big ones that I can think of off the top of my head. I was part of those in college. I've stayed on with APICS because we had a good local chapter there in Rockford. I've since, kind of forewent those when I moved back to Ohio, but I've been on the road most of the time here. So, it's kind of a little too chaotic to be part of that for me. But, again, if you're looking on, if you're in school, look up ISM or APICS, you should have a local chapter there. If not, look at their website, their LinkedIn's, those are pretty standard organizations and they're very good at trying to teach, different techniques and thought processes and that type stuff.
So did those organizations have meetings that you were able to attend, or what exactly did they provide?
Yeah, Apex. When I was in Rockford, we did I think it was a monthly meeting. So I was actually part of the board there, and there was maybe 8 or 10 of us that would, determine topics, what guest speakers we wanted, those type things, and then we'd get, maybe a group of 30 to 40 people, have dinner. There would be the presentation, again talking about states of the industry or different tools that they're developing to help out supply chain. I guess another big one would be Karis. They're kind of a big purchasing, teaching, negotiation. I don't know what to call it, group. But if you follow those, again, if your interest is in purchasing, negotiation, that type of stuff, Karis is a good one to follow. But again, they actually serve more of the classes. I think we took one semester of a Karis course in college. And so, they offer all sorts of seminars, those type of things.
And like you're saying, again, it comes back to building those relationships with other people who are in your career field and how you can help them, how they can help you. And that's always really important.
Yep.
So as you talked a little bit about your travel, where's the coolest place you've been able to visit as a result of travel for work?
Boy, I don't know. I've been to a lot of cool places. I'd say actually one of the cooler places that we've gone to is India. It's very different. I'd say it's the most different from the U.S. that I've been to. I'd say China, Mexico, they're very similar to the U.S. Obviously, some notable differences there, but in terms of just different cultures, India would be the biggest one. It's a very different, very good group of people there. I did not feel unsafe for 1 minute while I was there. We walk around the town a little bit. And the culture is just very different than what you'd get here in the U.S. when, you go out and walk down the street of a big city or something like that.
Right. Okay. Very cool. Yeah. I've never been to India, but I've had other people say that same thing, that it's very interesting.
Yeah.
As you think about people after high school, so college or in your career field, who's someone that's been really influential to you, and how has that person influenced you?
My buddy, I've got a supplier actually who's been, he's been there with me since pretty much day one. The guy named Phil Knable, and he runs his manufacturing representation group. So basically, what they do is they align with smaller companies, and maybe not always smaller companies. They're actually grouped up with a larger foundry organization. But he's kind of helped mold me, into kind of the buyer I am, because obviously I've got a great relationship with him. So we've gone back and forth across the table a couple of times, in negotiations, and found out what's best for both parties, because I need the suppliers as much as they need me. So we can't, I can't go in there and use my hammer and just start swinging around. So we've really had each other's backs a lot, and he's a little bit older than me, so he's got a lot of wisdom there, and just imparting some of that. And again, not typically you think about negotiations, it's us versus them type thing, and we were really collaborative, and just figuring out different ways of getting to that end goal. I think aside from last year, I've hit every single one of my cost savings goals. Last year was just a rough year. But Phil's been pretty instrumental in helping me out with getting there. And again, that it teaches me all sorts of new techniques, things that I didn't know. and then just on top of that, he's always been a good friend, good counsel to talk to.
Right.
He actually just a couple of years ago, he started up his own foundry organization and has since expanded that business. So, again, it's just, he's got such good business acumen that, he's really good to learn from and talk to.
Good, good. What's the most rewarding experience you've had in your career?
Just dealing with people. I mean, when I worked in Rockford, I worked in our foundry for 7 years. So, I mean, I was out there initially. Again, I started out as a purchasing guy. I was, a lot of people are desk jockeys when they do that, but I like to go out on the floor. I like to talk to the different people. Meeting new people, within the floor and people that, they don't know what you do. So you can go in there and kind of explain to them and why you matter and learn why they matter and how you can work together. And so I think that's the most exciting thing, because then, the next day on the floor, they might tell you, hey, we have a problem with this, this nut or bolt. And we've had that for 6 years. And so can you help? And, you go in there and fix it for them, make their job easier. And then, again, you start off those relationships, and then they're constantly helping you with your career, and you try to help them, with theirs. And so I think that's really, really rewarding to me.
And I think what you said there, as far as solving problems, again, that's a lot of what a career comes down to, is what problems can you solve, and how does that improve people's lives and so forth. So that's good. So as you think about when you were in high school, and there have to be things that you've learned since high school that you maybe wish you had known while you were in high school. What is that you wish you had known in high school that you now know?
Because it's a lot of thinking back. When did I learn something? But, just constantly be learning, and again, in high school, I mentioned earlier that, I was good at high school. I think I graduated number 6, which, was, and to me, it wasn't that hard in high school. I went to college. I did great my first semester. And then all of a sudden I got kicked in the teeth, and I had stopped learning there for a little bit. And then I couldn't quite figure out how to, flip back upside or right side up. To this day. I mean, and I hope I continue this on for the next, whenever they let me retire, but, just constantly be learning, always look for new opportunities, look for things to learn. I mean, I've changed parts out in a car, I've screwed things up, and, I've gone back and fixed them. Again, I'm learning all sorts of different supply chain responsibilities. I'm learning all sorts of different stuff about, who I am and what I can do. And, not everything's going to be for us, but I think, if you stop learning, then you really stop growing. And so just keep on, don't get comfortable with where you are, because there's always a bigger challenge in front of you.
Right. Well, I would say that's very good advice. And I think everything you've shared, Evan, very insightful. And again, supply chain is something that I had very little knowledge about before talking to you. So I appreciate you sharing that. And if anyone did want to learn more about supply chain or connect with you, what might be a good way for them to do that?
LinkedIn's really easy for me to reach out to me. I'd say that'd be the best one. You can, post, or you probably already will tag me in there, but,
Yep.
you can go ahead and do that. I don't have an issue, but, I'm pretty active on there. Just trying to keep up with what everybody's doing. And again, looking at some of these organizations on how I can grow and develop. So, if you have questions on where I'm looking, or, what I might be looking for at a certain thing, or, anything about college, high school, even, I can help that.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Evan. Greatly appreciate it. And good luck as you continue down your career path.
All right. Thank you. Very good program that you're running here. So I appreciate being a part of it.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this interview with Commodity and Supply Chain Manager Evan Haffenden. I hope you learned valuable information from his career story. And to be sure you don't miss upcoming interviews, please click subscribe so you'll know when the next episode is released. Thank you for watching, and as always, remember, the best part about Mondays is interviewing people.